Hello guys, this is the last video for haloalkanes and haloarenes. So far we have seen how to prepare haloalkanes and haloarenes and their physical properties and also their chemical properties. And in today's video we are going to see few of the miscellaneous topics in this lesson. First, I'm going to tell you how to write a chemical test to distinguish between pairs of compounds. These types of questions are asked in board exams. So far we have come across a lot of compounds in this lesson, haloalkanes and haloarenes. If two compounds are given to you, what chemical test you will use to distinguish between these compounds? That's what we are going to see now. So chemical test to distinguish between pairs of compounds. So the first one, if you are having any alkyl part but the halogen part is different, you are having a chloride here, bromide, iodide. So how to distinguish between an alkyl chloride versus alkyl bromide and alkyl iodide, or it can be aryl chloride, aryl bromide or aryl iodide. So no problem what the R part is, you are going to distinguish between chlorine, bromine and iodine. What you have to do is treat it with silver nitrate. If you are getting a white precipitate because of the formation of AgCl, then what compound is this? RCl. You will get a AgBr with a pale yellow precipitate, then your compound is RBr. If you are getting AgI, which is an yellow precipitate, this is pale yellow, this is yellow, brighter yellow. When you treat this with silver nitrate, then the compound given is having iodine. So this is how you have to distinguish. Suppose they are giving, how will you distinguish between chloroethane and bromoethane? You should say RCl or chloroethane with silver nitrate will give white precipitate of AgCl, whereas bromoethane will give pale yellow precipitate with AgNO3. So this is how you have to distinguish this pair of compounds. Now look at the second one. How will you distinguish between chloroethane and chlorobenzene? What is the formula for chloroethane? CH3, CH2, Cl. What is the formula for chlorobenzene? C6H5, Cl. So how will you distinguish between these two compounds? If you treat chloroethane with potassium hydroxide, aqueous potassium hydroxide, and then AgNO3 and HNO3 followed by AgNO3, you will get AgCl, which is a white precipitate. Or in the case of chloroethane, if you get a white precipitate, then that is chloroethane. When you add all these reagents to chlorobenzene, or if you treat it with KOH itself, no reaction will be there. So you will not get any colored precipitates or anything. But in the case of chloroethane, you will get a white precipitate. So this is how you have to distinguish. You should write when chloroethane is treated with KOH followed by HNO3 and then silver nitrate, you will get a white precipitate, whereas chlorobenzene will not give any reaction. Now the next pair of compounds, chlorobenzene and chlorocyclohexane. See, this is chlorobenzene, a benzene ring with a chlorine here, and chlorocyclohexane is a cyclohexane without any bonds. This is cyclohexane and a chlorine here. Now how will you distinguish between these two compounds? Same thing, if you add KOH, aqueous KOH, there will be no reaction. But here if you add KOH followed by HNO3 and AgNO3, you will get a white precipitate of AgCl. So if you get a white precipitate, then you can say it is chlorocyclohexane. No reaction, then it is chlorobenzene. Now the next question will be, how will you distinguish between chlorobenzene and benzyl chloride? Again, the same test you can write. Take chlorobenzene, add AgNO3, there will not be any reaction. If you take benzyl chloride and add AgNO3, you will get a white precipitate. Then you can say the one which gives white precipitate with AgNO3 is benzyl chloride. The other, which is not giving any reaction with the AgNO3, is chlorobenzene. You can use the same reaction for distinguish between chloroethane and chlorobenzene also, which we have seen. Instead of writing all this, you can use directly AgNO3 also. So these are few examples of how to distinguish a pair of compounds. So next topic is the applications of polyhalogen compounds. When we say poly, we mean many. So next we are going to see polyhalogen compounds. See, these are the polyhalogen compounds. See, you have 2 chlorine here, 3 Cl, 3 iodine, and 4 Cl. These are all examples of polyhalogen compounds. Let's see one by one, and how they are useful and what are the consequences in using these polyhalogen compounds. The first polyhalogen compound is CH2Cl2. It is called as dichloromethane, 1 carbon atom. So methane, 2 chlorine atoms. So dichloromethane, or it is also called as methylene chloride. It is used as a solvent, paint remover, propellant in aerosols, and also for cleaning metal, and it is used as a finishing solvent. When we say finishing solvent, if you are using any wood for doing any furniture, if you can use this as a solvent to finish the work. So this is used as a finishing solvent. When we say propellant in aerosols, when you use body sprays, we call that as aerosols. In that, if you try to spray it, it is coming out with a force, and inside that aerosol, this is used as a propellant, which enables the spray to come out with a faster rate, and that is called as a propellant. And the problem with methylene chloride is it harms the human central nervous system. It can lead to slightly impaired hearing and vision. So it will affect your CNS, central nervous system, and it will affect your vision and also the hearing capacity. Higher levels in air cause dizziness, nausea, and tingling and numbness in fingers. Tingling means a pricking effect on your fingers and toes. When you sit for a longer time, you feel this numbness in your legs. So same numbness and tingling effect can be produced by methylene chloride, and direct contact with eyes can burn the cornea. So these are all the details about methylene chloride, whose formula is CH2Cl2. Next we are going to see trichloromethane, or also called as chloroform. The formula for chloroform is CHCl3, and again chloroform is used as solvent for fats and alkaloids. Alkaloids are substances that are found in plants which are used in drugs. So you can use this chloroform as a solvent for alkaloids, and you can use it for dissolving iodine also, and for the production of freon. Freon is a refrigerant, which we will be seeing in the next slide. This trichloromethane or chloroform you would have seen in movies and all. If you pour a little bit in a handkerchief and bring it closer to your nose, you can faint. Or you would have seen in some movies they use this to kidnap someone. So this chloroform, when you inhale, it vapors, depresses the central nervous system, and it causes dizziness, fatigue, and headache. Fatigue, which means you feel very tired, and it will damage the liver, kidneys, and it will develop sores on skin. When this chloroform is oxidized, it oxidizes to a poisonous gas called carbonyl chloride or phosgene. So previously it was used as anesthesia, but after finding out that this chloroform, when it is oxidized, it forms a poisonous gas in the body, nowadays it is avoided. It is not used anymore. So it reacts with oxygen to give phosgene. Phosgene, the formula is COCl2. But without knowing that chloroform is highly toxic in nature, it was used as a general anesthetic in surgery for a very long time. But now it has been stopped. Let's move on to the next polyhalo compound. It is iodoform, also called as triiodomethane. 3 iodines are there, CHI3. Just like chloroform is CHCl3, iodoform is CHI3. It has a very objectionable smell and it is used as an antiseptic. Antiseptic, it can kill the microorganisms. See, when you get hurt, usually they used to give you this iodoform. But this iodoform has a healing effect only because of the iodine released from that iodoform. So it is used as an antiseptic, but nowadays because of its objectionable smell, it is not being used frequently. And next one is freon. Next polyhalogen compound is freon. Freon, it's nothing but chlorofluorocarbon compounds of methane and ethane. If you take methane and ethane and replace one or two hydrogens with chlorine or fluorine, we call that as freons. Freon is extremely stable, it is unreactive, non-toxic, and it is non-corrosive, but it is very threatening to the ozone layer because of its extremely stable nature. We use this freons in aerosol propellants, just now I told you, in refrigeration, which means it is used in the preparation of refrigerant, which helps in the cooling effect. And then it is used in air conditioning purpose also. But this freon, they are extremely stable, so they affect the ozone layer. The hole caused in the ozone layer is because of freon usage. And you know, if the ozone layer is depleted, then our planet will be exposed to extremely harmful UV radiations, which are responsible for deadly diseases like skin cancer, asthma, and many more. So keeping this in mind, the advanced nations have banned the use of chlorofluorocarbons. So it is very harmful to the human beings. The next polyhalogen compound is tetrachloromethane or carbon tetrachloride. Tetra means 4, so the formula is CCl4. And again, this is used as refrigerant, propellant for aerosol cans. It is used in the preparation of CFC. CFC is nothing but, just now we have seen freons, chlorofluorocarbons, and also it is used as general solvent. It causes liver cancer in humans, it causes dizziness, nausea, vomiting, and permanent damage to nerve cells. Stupor is like a near unconsciousness or insensibility, and then to coma, and finally to death. So carbon tetrachloride is also harmful, but it is used in refrigerants and propellants. And then the last one is DDT. It's diphenyl trichloroethane. The short form is DDT, and it was used as an insecticide. It is very effective against mosquito. But the problem with DDT was it is deposited and stored in the fatty tissues, and it can really cause a big problem to human beings because it is not degradable. It just deposits and stores in the fatty tissues. And after knowing the harmful effect of DDT, many countries have banned the use of DDT as an insecticide. Even in India, the use of DDT is banned, but many other countries are still using it as an insecticide due to lack of awareness. So this is all about polyhalogen compounds. And that's the end of the lesson haloalkanes and haloarenes. Now before finishing off this video, I just want to discuss the type of organic chemistry questions that will be asked in board exam, and we'll have a quick analysis of this lesson based on that category of questions. Here I have listed a few commonly asked question types in board exams in organic chemistry. See, there will be a question based on IUPAC nomenclature, one on based on name reactions, and a chemical test to distinguish between pairs of compounds, and reason assertion questions, which is why questions, and then conversion, how will you convert this compound into the other compound. And the next one is predict the products, how will you predict what will be the product of this reaction, okay, what will be the major product, where you apply this Markovnikov's rule and Zaitsev rule and predict the product. And the next one is increasing and decreasing order of properties. For example, arrange the following compounds in the increasing order of their boiling points, or increasing order of their reactivity towards nucleophilic substitution reaction. And the last one is mechanism. You have to write a mechanism from the reactant to the product, what are the steps followed. So these are the types of organic chemistry questions asked in board exams. So now let's apply these categories to this haloalkanes and arenes lesson, and we will try to analyze the book back questions based on this category. So there are totally 8 category of questions. The entire organic part in your volume 2 book can be categorized under these 8 topics, all the 4 lessons. Okay, all the 4 lessons, all of this 8 topics based questions will be there in all the 4 lessons. Now we will see in haloalkanes and arenes. So the category of questions in haloalkanes and haloarenes. So I have listed the book back questions. The first category is IUPAC nomenclature. Question 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3 of book back exercise comes under this category, IUPAC nomenclature. And the next one is name reactions. So in this lesson you have studied these name reactions: Sandmeyer reaction, Woods reaction, Fittig reaction, Woods Fittig reaction, Friedel-Crafts alkylation and Friedel-Crafts acylation. And the third one is reason assertion question. See, question number 10.5, 10.12, 10.17, 10.18 and 10.20 come under this category, reason and assertion, Y type of questions. And next one is conversion. How will you convert this reactant into the product? So 10.7, 10.11 and 10.19 come under the conversion category. And the next one is predict the products. How will you predict the products of the given reaction? 10.10, 10.14 and 10.22 of book back exercise will come under this category. And the sixth one is order. What is order? How will you arrange the following compounds in the increasing order and decreasing order of their properties? 10.4, 10.9 and 10.16. The seventh one is mechanism, the path of the reaction from the reactants to the products, that is 10.15. The last one is chemical text. In this category we don't have any book back questions. You can refer the video that I've taught in the chemical test to distinguish between pairs of compounds in part 12 video of haloalkanes and haloarenes. So this will be the end of haloalkanes and haloarenes. Organic chemistry is not as difficult as you think. Please always have a systematic study. If you are comfortable with this categorizing, you can categorize those questions on this topic and try to practice those questions. Repeatedly I am telling you, learning organic chemistry is very easy only if you practice. Understand the concept, don't memorize anything. Try to understand the concept and have a systematic study. And in case of equations, please write and see repeatedly. If you keep on practicing these equations, then it will be very easy for you to recall it when you write a test. All the best. Thank you.